Artemis Oracle. I don't want to say late as always, but yeah, lately I've been late. So I just wanted to prepare myself for this reading. So I wanted to do a full moon in Scorpio reading for the collective. I was going to do all signs, but I don't think I have enough time to do that today, and at least the way I would like to do the reading. So I'm just gonna do a general message, and then I'll just play it by ear and see if I want to just add in like separate messages for each zodiac sign. So let's just see how it goes, and you know. So yes, we're having the full moon in Scorpio. It's going to be on May 1st, because we're currently in Taurus season. So Scorpio and Taurus are the opposite signs of each other. So since the sun is currently in Taurus season, the moon is opposite of the sun and is the opposite of Taurus, which is the moon is going to be in Scorpio. It's going to be like that for it's going to actually be in Scorpio from Friday, May 1st through May 2nd, so just so everybody knows, I'm not answering any questions. I'm only doing a reading, a full moon reading, no questions. You put questions in the chat, I'm going to ignore you. Just letting you know respectfully, and I most likely will delete them too, because just so they don't distract me. So since we're going to be heading into a full moon in Scorpio, full moons are about releasing, about surrendering. And since Scorpio is the sign of transformation, it's the sign of life, death, rebirth, rising from the ashes, coming from the shadows and stronger, wiser, more braver, even more powerful than you were before, because it's a sign that signifies constant evolution, a constant transformation throughout one's life cycle, right? And regardless of what your sign is, we go through these moments in our lives where the person we used to be no longer exists, and we have to become new people. We have to be different than what we're used to, because that version of us no longer serves this new cycle we may be heading into, wherever it is in our life cycle, right? So that's what Scorpio is all about. I'm a Scorpio sun, Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter, right? So I have four, most of my personal planets are in Scorpio, right? So I've gone through a lot of transformations within my life. I had to change who I was. I couldn't be the same person, but there are certain things that still stay with me. And it's those negative traits, those insecurities, those fears, those little things that kind of keep me in the shadows, force me to be in the shadows, sometimes even go into the depths of despair or depression or darkness and all that stuff. So I don't know how it is for some of you. Some of you may be feeling the energy different. You may be feeling balanced. You may be feeling fair, like your karma is working out in your favor. Things, you're seeing justice playing out in your favor, because currently the moon is in Libra, and Libra is the sign of justice, fairness, balance, right? But then it's going to go into Scorpio. So some of you may become a bit more sensitive. You may be aware of certain feelings, especially if you feel like you're sensitive to the moon cycle, moon phases, and certain emotions that probably were kept hidden, have been buried, may resurge. And then this is a time for you to reflect on, why are you feeling the way you're feeling? Is there anything you can change in your situation? Is there anything you can do to make things, like to improve things for yourself? We can't change other people, but we can change ourselves, right? We have autonomy, we have authority, we have control over ourselves, and understanding our emotions, understanding why certain things trigger us, and how we can heal, improve, or even deal with those triggers as they come along, as we're going through the healing process, is important. And some things may be resurging during the full moon phase in Scorpio, right? So it's interesting though, because in May, we're going to have 2 full moons in May. And when we have 2 full moons and within one calendar month, the second moon is considered a blue moon. And that blue moon is going to be on May 31st. And it's going to be in the sign of Sagittarius, because by then we will be in Gemini season by the time May 31st comes around, right? But that moon is going to be a micro moon. So what that means is it's going to appear smaller in the sky then we typically see the moon. You know, we have the super moon, which is when the moon is so full, it looks so big. And then we have the regular moon that we see, which she's still beautiful. She's still beautiful. She's still her, you know, it's just we won't see her as closely as we would if she was a super moon, right? But when it's a micro moon, it's because the moon is farther away from the earth. Than a supermoon would be, which is it will be closer to the earth, right? So I like to share these little things that I learned because I think it's interesting. Also, the full moon on May 1st is called the flower moon, and because in May, April showers bring May flowers, so flowers start to blossom, start to bloom, and that's why it's called the flower moon. What else can I share with you? Yeah, so during this time, there may be certain feelings that may be resurging, certain things that you're going to be illuminated to. And it's going to be a cause for you to sit down and reflect, for you to analyze, for you to process, to unpack. And it's just the start of it, because remember, the full moon is only going to be in Scorpio for a couple of days. It's going to be for like 2 days, and then it's going to head into Sagittarius, and within those 2 days, you may be feeling a bit more sensitive. Some of you, it depends on, depending on your moon sign too. So most likely, I would say water signs will probably be feeling this, as well as earth signs, because water and earth are the opposite elements of each other, just like fire and air are the opposite elements of each other. So I would say this moon may be impacting people with water or earth moon signs. But what else did I want to say too? When these feelings that you have that you may have buried, that may be resurging around this full moon phase, it's an opportunity for you to, like I said, reflect, to analyze, to unpack, to understand why these things still bother you, especially if they're feelings that are tied to experiences from the past that you have yet to unpack, that you have yet to, heal from. It's an opportunity for you to turn that pain into power. Remember, Scorpio is a sign of transmutation, as well as Sagittarius, right? It's about transmuting that power. Like if you're feeling pain, you're using that energy and changing it into something more positive, more productive for you. So like I said, it's a learning experience. When we start to get triggered by certain things, those are teaching points for us to better understand ourselves. And like I said, I always say, when you understand yourself, you're more compassionate with yourself, but you're also more compassionate for other people, or with other people, because you understand yourself as a person, and you get to see yourself in other people. And though it may not be in similar situations, you can have an idea or have empathy for someone who may be going through a similar struggle or similar pain or similar situation. And that allows you to be compassionate towards them, and maybe allow them grace the way you would like grace extended to you during those challenging periods in your life. Definitely not giving people an excuse. There's no excuse for bad behavior, right? But sometimes we're not always in our best. So when we understand that within ourselves, and we forgive ourselves, we will be a bit more compassionate and forgiving towards other people too, because we're not perfect. Regardless of your sign, I don't care if you're a Virgo, you're not perfect, okay? I'm just joking about Virgos. Hi, everyone. So that was what I wanted to say. So I thought of questions that you may want to consider if you are moon sensitive. There's certain things that are coming up during the full moon phase that you may need to reflect on. And one of them is, what is keeping you from progressing forward? Is this emotion or challenge or trigger holding you back? And is it anything that you can change? Is there something within that situation that you have power to change? If it's something that you can change, then if it's something that you want to change, then you know what you need to do. Change it. If you can't, if it's out of your control, then it may be time for you to release it. If it's out of your hands, it's out of your control, there's nothing you can do. You're going to have to accept it and move on from it, and no longer, and detach from it, if it's something that you can detach from, right? But it may be certain things that you're going to have to accept if it's something that you can't detach from, And are you resisting letting go? Are there certain things that you're holding on to that you shouldn't? Are the things that you're holding on to hurting you, or are they helping you? Are they good for you, or are they bad for you? Is there a reason to have hope, or are you holding on to the idea of hope? There's a song from Nothing More where they said holding on to hope is a something like sometimes holding on to hope does more harm than good for you, especially when there is no hope in a situation. Some situations are hopeless and are beyond your control, but you get to decide, do you want to continue holding on to it, or are you going to release it? And are you ready to close a chapter on something that no longer serves you? Are you ready to close a chapter on a part of yourself that no longer serves you? I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be transparent with you. Like, there's things I need to release. And I think a lot of you can understand this too. I think Teresa's laughing about the Virgo thing. I hope she's laughing at the Virgo joke. The thing I have is like the fear of being hurt. I'm afraid of being hurt. But the thing is, I'm strong. I've been hurt before. I've healed. So can someone really hurt me? I've been hurt before. I've been hurt by the people that love me. I've been hurt by the people that were meant to protect me. Am I still here? Yes. Did I heal from it? Yes. So fear of being hurt, why am I afraid? I'm strong. I'm resilient, and I'm discerning. So, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to remove because I'm not answering questions and I don't want to be distracted. So the fear of being abandoned. I think a lot of people have that fear, especially if you experience some sort of abandonment in your life, where you've probably felt left out, you felt like you weren't a priority or you weren't cared, possibly a parent left the home, even a relationship ended and it just like destroyed you, I have that fear. That's something that I need to release. Another one is the fear of being replaced. I'm being transparent because I want you to start thinking about the things that you may be afraid of or things that, may be holding you back, like for me, see, the thing I have to tell myself is like the fear of being abandoned. I cannot be abandoned because I always have myself. I am always with me. I will never be alone as long as I have me, I'm going to be my best friend. I could be my lover, but you know what I we all could be our own lovers, if you know what I mean. But what I but it's like I always have me. I will never be alone. We always have ourselves. I mean, it's wonderful to have people and friends and family members that love you and support you. But remember, there's going to be a point where people are going to leave our lives, either because they no longer want to be our friends, they no longer want to be our partners, or because they pass away. There's different reasons why people exit our lives. But the most important thing we have to remember is that we still have ourselves, Yes, you can hurt the people around us. Yeah, sometimes when you like think about this, sometimes we could keep ourselves in spaces that are too small for us. And little by little, if we don't move into spaces that allow us to grow, to expand our horizons, to evolve, become bigger and better, and I'm not talking about being bigger, or fatter, we slowly kill ourselves, So the other fear I have is the fear of being replaced. But the thing is, like, how can anybody replace me? There's only one Tanya. Nobody can replace me. Just like nobody can replace you. You're unique. You're special in your way. Just like I'm special and unique in my own way. So I can never be replaced. Never. You could replace me, but that person will never be me. That person will never be me. To you, whoever may think they could replace me, you may think they're better, but they're different. They may be better for you. Maybe I'm not enough for you, but that doesn't mean I'm less than. I'm not right for you. That's what we have to think about when we're with people and they no longer want to be with us. You don't want to be with me because I'm not right for you. Not because I'm not good enough for you. I'm not right for you. If I don't want to be with you, you're not right for me. We're not a right fit. It's not about being replaced. It's about getting out of situations that aren't right for us. And if somebody wants to move on from somebody else to someone else, it's not because I'm not good enough. It's because I'm not right for them. I think that's one of the things that we have to remember. Just because somebody, like say somebody cheats on you, they're not good enough for you. Let's just put it that way. And it's not something that we should take personally, because the person who cheated, they have their reasons. It doesn't mean it's right. And it doesn't mean what they did is right. It doesn't excuse that. But for them, they have their reasons, but that doesn't have anything to do with us. That doesn't mean we're not pretty enough, we're not thin enough, we're not smart enough, we're not funny enough, we're not sexy enough, horny enough, or whatever the fuck enough for them, That's all them. We shouldn't internalize somebody else's selfishness. We shouldn't internalize someone else's disregard or betrayal. That doesn't have anything to do with us. That's about them. So if you ever have that fear of being abandoned or being replaced, you cannot be replaced. You cannot be abandoned. You have yourself, and someone replacing you, impossible. They may fill your spot. That's the spot. But you be replaced, impossible to do, because you're your own person. I felt like that's something. So I wanted to share that because I wanted to give you an idea of what you may consider releasing for yourself. Like for me, that's it, because I have a lot of fear of being hurt. I don't want to be hurt again. I don't want to have to refrain myself from wanting revenge, because it'll get to the point where I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm tearing this whole shit down. But I'm only sharing this, like I said, just to give you an example. We're all human. We all have our fears. We have our insecurities. We have this toxicity within us, because fear is not the healthiest thing to have. Fear is limiting. Fear stops us from being our best selves. Fulfilling our life purpose, our potential, our full potential, living at our full potential, or to our full potential. And yeah. So that's just something for you to think about. So I wanted to, but it doesn't help when people are make it seem like, well, that's why I cheated on you, because you don't have sex with me enough, or whatever. Like, that's so stupid. Like, you cheated on me because you're a piece of shit. I'm pretending I'm somebody that was cheated on. You're a piece of shit. You have no loyalty. You're selfish, and you're a piece. Like I said, you're still a piece of shit. I wish, but like you said, I wish people were more honest about it. But we shouldn't internalize it. And that's the thing where our fear comes from, because like the fears I mentioned, it comes from other people. But the thing is, it's like, I have to look at myself. Like, you have to look at yourself. I have control. Like, if I feel, I don't like that fear, I shouldn't have that fear. If somebody doesn't want to be with me, you just did me a favor, because you're just opening up a space for somebody else to come along. What was the other fear I had? The abandoned. How can I be abandoned when I have myself? When you abandon yourself, that's when you're truly abandoned. You have to fully love and accept yourself for who you are. And then you will never abandon yourself, and nobody could ever abandon you, because you're like, like I said, somebody creates a space where someone else can, a vacancy. I remember I did that reading where I talked about a vacancy. It creates an opening for somebody else to fill it, and it may be a better, more qualified suitor, or however resonates with you, And the fear of being hurt, like rejected, and that's just a part of life, And that doesn't kill us. It doesn't, All right, so I have these Power of Surrender cards that I want to share with you all. I wasn't trying to make the reading about me. I just think that sometimes some people don't really know how to really think about things for themselves. And I'm not saying, no, you can't think for yourself, but sometimes it's hard to learn, or people don't know how to process their feelings, or what kind of questions to ask themselves, what they should consider. And I've done this enough times with myself that I feel confident enough to share it with other people, just so you could get an idea. And this is me being vulnerable, because I know I'm not the only person that has those fears. The fear of being hurt, the fear of being abandoned, and the fear of being replaced. A lot of people have that fear, You're not the only one. Just like Sam Smith says, you're not the only one, Okay, so the Power of Surrender cards, they have surrender what does it say? Surrender to something, or what was that one? And it will say something to surrender or something to surrender to. So let's see what the collective needs to surrender from. Surrender to receiving support and love. Allow the love and support of others in rather than trying to handle everything yourself. This can take the pressure off and simultaneously nurture you. You know, some of you may be holding on to a lot of burdens. You feel like you're the only one that has to do that. You feel like easiest thing is for me to say the simplest way, you feel like you have to do everything. But the thing is, when you're doing that, you're hurting yourself, because if you feel like you have to do everything, that means you're not allowing yourself time to rest. You're not allowing people to be responsible for their own tasks, and you're also enabling people. And then when we do that, we become bitter and we start to resent people. So if there are certain responsibilities that you know you can give to somebody else and allow them to help you, allow them to do their part, then allow them to do that. You know, because when you're nurturing yourself, you're also helping another person learn how to be more mature, how to take responsibility, also how to be a support to you the same way you can be a support to them. You know, sometimes when you feel like you have to be the person that's always giving love and always supportive, you don't allow yourself to receive that. And I don't know if that's tied to like some sort of insecurity where you feel like you allowing yourself to be loved, allowing yourself to be supported is a sign of weakness. And I know some of us, a lot of us grew up this way, where we felt like we had to take care of everything ourselves. Because if we didn't, that meant we weren't responsible, that we're helpless, especially us as feminines. As a feminine, you know, we don't want to be seen that way. But I think a lot of masculines too, they may bear that burden too, where they feel like they have to do everything. But also this is also about trust, allowing yourself to trust somebody and trust that they will be able to be a support and a loving force in your life. You know, sometimes we feel like we don't deserve that. And it's easier for us to do everything ourselves rather than allow somebody to help us in any way. But that could be tied to trust and also being an enabler in some way, or feeling like you have to do everything yourself. Like it's like hyper independence. What else? Surrender to divine timing. Sometimes divine timing may differ from your ego's timing. If a goal isn't manifesting fast enough according to your ego, be patient and trust the universal flow. This is about trust. I was talking about trust. Sometimes you have to allow things to unfold in its own timing, you know. So surrender to thinking things have to be the way you want them to be, and that things have to happen when they're meant, that when you want them to happen. Because if it's if it's involving a lot of other people or has a lot of moving parts, that there's bureaucracy, tape, and all that shit in the way, then you have to let those things, let the process go with the process, trust the flow, go with the flow, you know, and trust that things are going to work out the way they're meant to. Because sometimes when we think we have this idea of how something's supposed to be, we're limited by what we already know in our vision. Well, sometimes we can't see beyond that and see something bigger and better for ourselves. So it's about trusting that things will work out better than you can imagine, you know. What else? Surrender frustration. Frustration doesn't open any doors. The key to resolving a dilemma or dissolving a block is to take a breath, center yourself, and regroup so you may approach the situation more calmly. You know, so this is about you. If you're feeling frustrated anyway, take a breath, go out in nature, walk on grass if you can. If it's not the greatest over here in New York with all these pets. I mean, like I like animals and stuff, but you know, you don't want to be stepping on, you know, but you gotta be careful where you're walking, basically. Just go out in nature, you know, be in the sun, allow the breeze to blow through your hair or your scalp if you're bald. I don't know why I said that. Just let that one hair like in the wind. Just allow yourself, you know, to breathe. You know, frustration, I could imagine it's like you feel like like it's like you're constipated. Like frustration is like emotional constipation, and you have to release it. You know, you have to take some sort of laxative, like taking a deep breath is going to help, centering yourself, grounding yourself, walking barefoot, going outside, being near water, anywhere where you feel a sense of ease, where you feel like you can be calm, where you can relax. Do that. Um, but don't act out in frustration, because sometimes we create even more blockages without even realizing it. You're trying to push something, but you're pushing something against something else that's going to create a blockage. And then when you keep pushing, it's like it's going to reach a point where you cannot push anymore, and you're just going to end up stuck. So it's better just to take a step back and allow yourself to, like just, if you have to, distract yourself in a way. If you want to go play a game, go read a book, journal, dance, do something to kind of step away from whatever situation you may be dealing with that's frustrating. Do that. Do what you need to do, just to make sure that you're centering yourself and that you're not even creating more blockages in whatever situation you may be frustrated with. And then look at this. Oh my God, why I keep saying trust, trust, trust. Surrender to trust. Trust yourself and your decisions. Don't be swayed by other people's strong opinions about what to do. Take action and be confident that you have chosen the right path. So trust that whatever decision you make, you're making the right one for yourself. Remember, we have multiple paths. We have multiple options that we can accept, that we can decide on. But it's like ultimately, if you choose one, it may not be the best one. It may redirect you into what you're meant to do, where you're meant to go. It will redirect your path, but it could also lead you down a separate different experience, because like life is the how our life will turn out is based on our decisions, right? But you have to understand that the choice you made, whatever decision you make for yourself, you feel like it's the right one for you at that moment. But as you're going through whatever journey, based off a decision that you make, you still have the power to change course. You don't feel like you have to be stuck somewhere, especially if you end up somewhere where you feel frustrated, but trust that whenever you make a decision, it's the right one for you. And ultimately, regardless of the decision, you will be, if necessary, you will be redirected towards the right path, It says, don't be swayed by other people's strong opinions. I know I'm saying certain things here, and I'm not trying to change your mind about something or try to make you do something that I would do. And I know I can be that way, but I think that it's important for you to think about your own opinions about certain things, especially when it affects you directly and it's about your life. I could tell you certain things, but there's things I don't know or I haven't experienced that you have that will be a determining factor in whatever decisions you make. Like I said, these are just cards, but ultimately you have free will. You understand your situation. You know what you've gone through. You know what you're willing to go through again and what you're not. So you know what decisions you need to make based on your own personal experiences, See, let me see what else. I like that, the trust card, because it's hard to surrender to receiving love and support if you don't trust other people. And it's hard to be patient when you're wanting something to happen at a specific time, but you have to trust that things will be well. You have to trust that you will choose the right people that will be loving and supportive towards you, right? But then you also have to be able to surrender frustration. And that could be tied to, sometimes you could be overwhelmed with things going on in your life that's frustrating, and it could be tied to you not allowing yourself to receive support from other people, because you feel the burden and you feel like you're stuck, and you may even say, nobody helps me, but the thing is, are you allowing people to help you? That's a question you need to ask yourself, and if you are and they're not doing a good job, then maybe you need new people. Maybe, or maybe they need to be taught. Maybe they need specific explicit instructions from you. Let me see something. I'm gonna go. Yes, we do got this one. That. Okay, so let's see what else. Because I have these angel cards, these angel tarot cards. Look at this. Why does it have to be this big? Like, why? I have large hands for a woman, you know. I always joke. I say it's the better to choke you with, my dear. I always make the joke. Let's see. These are tarot cards, but I was supposed to do an all signs, but I don't know. Maybe I could do that. No, it's gonna take a lot of time. It's gonna take a lot of time. Okay. What messages does the collective need to know about surrender to receiving love? Oh, you know what? I've got the Six of Air. Let's just not even clarify the cards. Let's just see what comes out. The Six of Air. So the Six of Air, that has to do with, it's basically the Six of Swords, and it's about moving away from chaotic situations. But this, like, we're talking about the full moon, and the full moon's about release or surrendering, right? What is it that you need to move away from that's going to bring you more peace? That's going to get you to the other side of any conflict, stress, anxiety, worry that you're experiencing, you know? But it says things are looking up, the end of a difficult situation and taking a trip. So some of you may be needing to take a trip just so that you can, like it says, surrender frustration. Take time to balance yourself out, take breath, center yourself, regroup. Some of you may need a break. Some of you may need a vacation, a small getaway, a short getaway, something like that. That's just to help you reground and recenter yourselves. We got the Ten of Water, and the Ten of Water is like happiness, is joy. It's about family, celebration, togetherness, a contented and rewarding family life. Your emotional and material needs are met, trustworthy relationships. We keep hearing about trust, right? You need to trust yourself, trust that you're choosing the right people to love and support you, and trust in divine timing, right? But it's like when you move away from the cycle of peace towards peace, right? And it's like you making that decision, you releasing all the worries, the stress, releasing control from certain things that you don't have control over. That's what's going to bring you peace, right? But then this level of peace that you may experience may also allow you to experience happiness, full happiness, because you're removing those blockages, removing those burdens, you're removing the things that are frustrating to you. Frustration, like I said, is emotional constipation. I hate when I'm frustrated. I hate that feeling. I don't like that. Ten of Fire, too much work, accept help from others. Life is out of balance. Stress-related health concerns, yes. So some of you may be experiencing issues with your health, you know, maybe with your heart, maybe anxiety, depression, headaches, sleepless nights too, because you have too many burdens and too much stress. Remember, you look at what you have, what is causing you stress, right? And what can you release? What is yours to keep and what is yours to release? Because there's certain things that aren't even your problem. Don't make somebody else's problem your problem, right? But also allow yourself to receive help, you know, especially if you feel like you are overwhelmed with responsibilities, with tasks. Allow other people to help you. Allow yourself to receive support. You know, you deserve it. What else does the collective need to know about the full moon? Page of Water, intuitive, sensitive, artistic, friendly. A new person enters your life. A relationship begins a new phase. Heightened psychic abilities. So, like I was saying earlier, that with the full moon in Scorpio, I think it's going to mostly affect the earth and water signs, you know? Because remember, earth and water are separate. Okay, I see some killer whales. I see a seal. So the Page of Water, this is about you allowing yourself to be in this phase or this place where you're allowing your like inner child to come out, to express itself, like express your emotions, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, also allowing yourself to do the things that you love, maybe things that you enjoy doing when you were younger, allowing yourself to do something that's new to you, but it's something that you were interested in or have considered doing in the past, but the idea of it, you love it. So it's that energy for with the page of water. Possibly some of you can maybe even channel, because we're talking about transmuting energy, especially if you're experiencing a resurgence of past pain that is yet to be processed and healed from. It's you transmuting that energy and using it in a creative way, like maybe creating art or whatever you consider art, because art doesn't necessarily mean drawing and painting. It could be whatever. It could be writing. It could be music, anything that is considered creative artistry, something like that. Also, some of you may be feeling like you're becoming a bit more sensitive. If you feel like you have psychic gifts, some of you may experience that. You may be starting to have dreams, maybe starting to have premonitions, start channeling. But there could be a new person coming into your life too. A new person that could be someone that you can surrender to, someone that can be someone you can trust, someone that will be supportive, and someone that is loving to you, And then in the bottom of the deck, we have the Chariot, Archangel Metatron, an important achievement, self-discipline, willpower, and public recognition. This card is about success, And I feel like if you want to see some sort of success, and within this dynamic, we're talking about the full moon in Scorpio, where you will see yourself being at going towards peace, moving away from conflict, anything, whether it's external or internal conflict, right? Mental conflict, and going towards happiness, joy, friendships, family, togetherness, even like just feeling emotionally fulfilled, more happy, more at a better place emotionally. But then also releasing certain burdens, and allowing yourself to be supported by other people. With you doing that, you're moving whatever blockages. Like, remember, surrender, frustration. The key to resolving a dilemma or dissolving a block is to take a breath, center yourself, and regroup so you may approach the situation more calmly. So it's like allowing yourself to be in this childlike energy, but this childlike wondering, like being creative and letting your imagination run wild, being even like fantasizing. And I'm not talking about like the Lulu fantasizing. I'm talking about like you just imagine the everything that you want. Imagine how it would feel, how it would be. Even act like you have what you want. They say it's good to do that. When you act like you have what you want, then it's most likely going to be attracted to you. So this is a time for you to allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling, but also process it. But with the Chariot, it's like when you allow yourself to take a deep breath, recenter, possibly take some sort of trip, it's like you're going to be moving those blockages away, and then you're going to see things start to shift, see a lot of movement, see a lot of progress in your life, because you're trusting in yourself, you're trusting in the divine, you're trusting in the universe, you're trusting in God, angels, spirit, and you're just removing any of the frustration, blockages, fears, anything that can be limiting to you. That's what's going to clear the way and allow your personal Chariot to move forward, allow you to go towards success, But it's important for you to be very careful of what choices you make, because see, we have the 5 of air here, and we have the 6 of air. 6 of air is about moving away from conflict and controversy and going towards peace, right? But it's all about the choice you make. You could do all these things, consider in what ways, because this takes time. It's not going to happen in 2 weeks. It's not going to happen, but this is something to start. It's something that you can start right now. Start considering, start making whatever changes you can at this time, even if they're very small. Remember, everything starts off with one small step, and then it becomes something larger and bigger, right? So don't overwhelm yourself with the end result, but just take one thing, one step at a time, you know? But it says an unwise choice. Learn what you can from this situation, review everyone's motives. But most importantly, review your own motives, because you could see everybody else's motives and then you could work around it or somehow prevent yourself or protect yourself from anything that doesn't work for you. But also think about your own motives. What are your intentions? What is your ultimate goal? What is your 10 of cups? You know, you have to think about that. What is success to you? But then underneath that is like starting a new cycle, closing something out to start something new with the Fool, the dreamer. Archangel Metatron again. A leap of faith, follow your dreams, unexpected opportunities. Remember, we saw the Chariot, you're clearing blockages, and those blockages allow opportunities, good manifestations, anything good that you want to come towards you. Just as long as you're in a positive headspace, you're doing the work, you're trusting yourself, you're trusting in the universe, God, spirit, angels, the divine, and just focusing on what your intentions and motives are, and being aware of what other people's motives are, but knowing when to discern and when to cut people off, when to not engage, when, what you need to release, people you may need to release too. That's something that you may need to consider too, because sometimes we are going to be in this, with the Scorpio full moon, we're also going to be seeing things that are not working for us anymore when it comes to relationships. People who no longer align with what our ultimate happiness would be. So some of you may be enlightened and maybe figuring out something or someone may be a source of frustration in your life, and that it's something that you may need to release yourself from, or someone that you need to surrender from your life. It's not to punish anybody, because to stay in a situation that has left you feeling stagnant, has left you feeling like you were stuck, like there was no movement, no progress, you're punishing yourself ultimately, So this is all about what can you do to restore peace, how you can restore balance, what things that you need to change, what things you need to release, what do you need to surrender, and what do you need to surrender to? Who should you trust? Do you trust yourself? Do you trust the people around you? The people you don't trust, you stay away from them. That's like the easiest advice, right? Sometimes it's not like that, because it's your family, it's the people you live with, it's the people you work with, but they don't get caught up in their stuff. Remember, you have your own responsibilities. You're responsible for your own happiness. You're responsible for your own peace. So don't get stuck in situations or get involved in situations that may disrupt your peace, Okay, so let's see what else. I'm trying to think of what else to add to the reading. I hope this reading is helpful to those who are listening. I appreciate you for liking, and I don't know if anybody subscribed. If you subscribe, thank you. I appreciate you, because I want people to subscribe because they feel called to subscribe, not because I want them to. I mean, of course, I want subscribers, but I want people who want me. We want each other, So I have the Moonology book. For some reason, I could not find my full moon in Scorpio cards. I'm like, okay, where the fuck are my cards at? Okay, so full moon in Scorpio, it's time to release negativity. If you've been feeling paranoid and acting weird, take this card as a very direct message from the cosmos to stop it. Worrying yourself is pointless. It's time to release any negativity you have around the situation you're asking about. If someone has been unkind to you, perhaps it's time for you to release them. Release that burdensome person, if it's that easy. Sometimes it's not that easy. There's people that we stuck with, like our kids. Just joking. Half joking. This card heralds an emotionally intense time, since both the full moon and Scorpio themselves are both extremely intense. It's time for you to feel all your feelings. There could be some nastiness in the air when you pull this card. I don't have the card because I lost it. It's not lost, it's hiding somewhere. It's that if that's the case, take it as a sign to move away from anyone or anything you feel is toxic. For some, however, this card has a totally different meaning. Teresa, your sex life can improve now, or could get even better than it was before. Okay, If you make an effort, use your magic. You have all you need inside you to bring about your desired results. And it says, attune to the moon, emote. This is expressing your emotions. If you don't have anybody to express your emotions to, get a journal, get a pillow. You ever seen that video where the person's like in the bathroom and they want to scream, but they can't? They're like, maybe you need to do that. Some of you may need to do that. I know. So I take a screenshot. Look, Artemis is taking a shit. Okay, additional meanings for the full moon in Scorpio card is it's time to move from living fearfully to living joyfully. Remember, I was sharing my fears. So like I said, some of you may have the same fears that I have. It's okay, we're human. You're right to have your suspicions. So if there's something you're suspicious about, you may be correct. Grudges are toxic. Let something go. And the end of an argument. So if some of you had some disagreement with someone, it may be coming to a head, and some of you may be finding the common ground and finding peace and being able to move away from the conflict, which is what we saw with the 5 of air, right? So it's also a matter of choice. Do you or the person you had an argument with want peace? You both have to decide that you want peace and that you want a resolution to move forward, right? If one person doesn't want peace and you want peace, then you deuces, get on your chariot and ride away, because you don't got to stay stuck there, And I'm going to read the teaching. The full moon in Scorpio has a sting in its tail. It can herald a vindictive end to a relationship. It can also be a time when we want to be good, but we're naughty. If you pull this card, no matter when, your dark side and your shadow self may be showing. The full moon in Scorpio is also a time of magic. If you were thinking of making some magic, this is your sign to do it, And one of the easiest things that we can do magically is transmutation. And it's when we're experiencing a negative emotion and that we're channeling that energy towards something productive. And we had the page of water come out. So you could channel whatever emotions you may be experiencing, whether it's anger, sadness, depression, anxiety, or anything, any emotion, and you're just using that energy, channeling it into something that you can create, like music, poetry. You could write a story, you could write your feelings by journaling, painting, sculpting, anything, any creative outlet you have for yourself that you align to, what that feels good to you. Okay, and then the Moonology manifestation deck. Full moons aren't necessarily about manifestation, but we can still have the intention to surrender something, So let's see. The full moon in Scorpio. Breathe through the tension. Wasn't that one of the cards that came out with surrender, frustration? I don't like frustration at all. I know who likes to be frustrated. I don't know anybody that does. Okay, so breathe through the tension. There's a strong sexual energy around you now. The good news is sexual energy is very creative. After all, it leads to an act that creates humans. A tense situation could be about to boil over, so go carefully. Spending time outdoors will help you to calm your emotions as well as increasing your general well-being. You need to find a balance between your emotions and your sensual side. Don't deny this part of yourself. Use the energy to create what you want. Manifesting balance. Balance your ability to caress with your need to be caressed. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, I'm not answering any questions. I'm not answering questions. Sorry. Manifesting mindset. When we're emotionally overheated, we end up focusing on what we don't want rather than what we do want. Bear this in mind. Breathe. Yes. So I know when we're experiencing frustration, stress, suspicions too, and they become so fixated on it that it becomes a monster of its own, and we manifest that, so if that's if there's something that you're thinking about and you've been thinking about a lot, that's not the greatest for you, that it's something that you don't even want, stop, think about what you want. It was weird. I was watching a movie And the person was talking about anxiety. She was like, her job was to help people with their anxiety. And she told the person, what is your greatest fear? What is your greatest hope? Focus on your greatest hope. Your greatest fear, say it. Maybe it sounds ridiculous. Release it. Focus on what you want. Remember, if you focus, you put your energy on what you want, it usually comes to you. But if you're always focusing on a negative, and negative people know this because they're negative people, you will continue to receive negative shit. You're gonna keep getting crap, and it's because of what you're thinking about. When you're thinking about something, it's like a wish, if you think about it. Literally, if you think about something negative, you're giving it power. You're giving it a life, especially if you're dwelling on something specific. You're giving it a life of its own, and it manifests in reality. I don't know if anyone has ever experienced that. So if you want to look for something wrong, you could always find something wrong. But I think as us as human beings, we need to focus on everything that can go right. I think we've been conditioned by certain people of influence to focus on what we don't have because we're seeing what they have. But the thing is, do we want what they have? Some of us may want it, then you need to go do what you have to do to go get it, right? But if it's something that you don't have and you don't care about, then you're not really missing out on anything either. I felt like I had to say that. So it says your manifestation affirmation is sexual energy fires me up in a good way and helps me express my creativity too. So it says the best time to work with work your magic, because this is a manifestation deck. It says Mars Day for Scorpio on a Mars Day, which is Tuesday, but the full moon is gonna be on Friday, so we're not even gonna worry about that. I don't know why I read that. That was a waste of my breath. Oh. I hope this reading is resonating with you in some way. Let me see what else comes out. I have this little pocket deck that I like. I haven't done like a reading like this in a while, and I like these readings. I feel like I call them like the food for thought readings. Okay, we have the mother. The mother is someone who is loving, who is nurturing, who is caring. But the mother in the negative sense could be someone who is overbearing, smothering, So, think about that, how that resonates with you. Are you the mother where you're loving and caring and, nurturing? Or are you like a helicopter parent? Are you stifling something? Are you stifling yourself in some way? Are you stifling someone else? Then we have the sustainer. The sustainer is someone who maintains balance. They create like a homeostasis, like this equilibrium within a situation, within oneself, because these are archetype cards. And then we also have the flame. Is there anything you're doing that is stifling your flame? Are you smothering your flame, or are you stoking it? With the mother and the flame card. That's what came to our mind, the sustainer. But I'm gonna read the book too. Oh, I literally went to the mother. That was the first card. Okay, the mother. We begin our archetypal story with the mother's love. Through her sensual, fertile, and life-giving energy, all creation takes form. It's interesting because Scorpio is the sign of sex. Sex creates life, right? Regardless of our birth story, each of our hearts beat for the first time in the warm womb of the mother, where she's offered resources from her body for the building of your own. Yet her tale is not so simple, as the mother, especially on the earthly plane, contains both light and dark aspects of the feminine. With the best of intentions, the mother wraps her loving arms around her creations and begins to grip what she meant to set free. The mother both nurtures and prohibits growth. She gives, yet clings. She creates, yet restricts. Amid this complex energy, the mother holds the key to the eternal channel of love. The external challenge of love. So it's the great mother, the feminine, the source, right? It's glowing, generative, creative, nurturing. But in the dark, it's dim, exhausted, controlling, and limiting. How are you limiting yourself? How are you limiting yourself? Are you nurturing, caring for what you want? Are you allowing yourself to grow, or are you stifling yourself? Are you trapping yourself in some way? Are you prohibiting yourself from growing? Are you clinging on to your fears? The fears and anxieties and garbage people and responsibilities that don't belong to you. Are you clinging on to them? Are you going to release them? Now the sustainer, that's 24. 24. Okay, the sustainer. In the light, it's abundant, generous, supportive, reliable. In the dark, it's overworked, resentful, trapped, and tired. Are you trapped and tired? Is this you, the 10 of Wands, the 10 of Fire? Are you stressed, overwhelmed, have too many responsibilities? The sustainer, the second archetype in the trio of existence, works behind the scenes, tending to the tasks of life. They cultivate gardens, pay bills, keep the meals warm, and the mouths sweetly fed. The sustainer is at peace in the process of life, knowing there is no start or finish to humble yet meaningful tasks. They have a natural inclination to nourish others, to archive, to preserve Earth's resources, to consider environmental impact, to see their role in the divine cycle of life. It's common for the sustainer to become overworked, leading to resentment. Didn't I talk about like you feeling resentful? When you feel like you're doing everything, you start to become bitter, you start to become resentful. Their tasks aren't glamorous, and therefore the sustainer rarely receives the credit or attention. The sustainer longs to hold things in place so badly, especially relationships, that they restrict unnecessary change. They take time with this archetype. It is within us all and needs our love. Yeah, the peacemaker, the upholder, the preserver. That's kind of like what the mother is too. The mother, she creates, but when she's creating and nurturing the fetus, she's feeding it, nurturing it with what her body has to offer, right? This is also like a metaphor about what you're wanting to create for yourself. Are you nurturing it, or are you stifling it? Are you allowing yourself to, let me see, are you allowing, one of the things is like, it talked about being overworked, overburdened. One of the things is you have to allow yourself to receive love and support from other people. Surrender to receiving love and support. If you're doing everything, you're putting all the burden on yourself, you're going to be overworked, you're going to be tired. But then when you're overworked and tired, there are going to be things that you're going to be missing out on, certain details, and some things may end up sloppy. Think about yourself. If there's certain things that you're not taking care of, that you're neglecting within your own life, things may start to fall apart, So you want to make sure you're sustaining the things that help create a solid foundation for yourself, and releasing and moving out anything that can be a weak point, Now the flame. Okay, that's 51. The flame. The fire, the spark, the glimmer. In the light is health, mental clarity, good digestion, and in the dark is excess heat and anger, complete darkness. In Sanskrit, the word for fire is Agni. The ancient yogis saw the flame at the center of the abdomen, and believed it to be responsible for our vitality. When it is lit, we are connected to our purpose and sense that life is a sacred gift. It is said that those who cannot see the sacred around them have let their inner flame go. They let their inner flame go out. Think of this card as a call to reignite the fire, to cup your hands gently around those things you've forgotten and protect the flame, no matter how harshly the winds around you blow. It could be an inner archetype that begs you to light its wick. It is likely that the poet, the mystic, or the shaman would call to you with the language of the flame. So you don't want to be burning yourself out, especially with things that really aren't a part or conducive to whatever maybe your ultimate happiness. you know? So this is the time for you to release certain burdens that don't belong to you, certain responsibilities that are not yours to take on. And so that you don't allow your flame to burn out. Your flame is meant for you to live in your purpose, to go after and do and have the energy to go after whatever it is that you want, whatever you want to create. You know, don't, it's important for you to sustain your flame, nurture it, mother it, protect it, you know, but you can only do that if you have your hands free. If you have too many things going on, too many things, you're juggling too many tasks, responsibilities, things that don't belong to you, things that keep you stuck, that things that kind of cause your flame to go out, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You know, you have to find some common ground for yourself and for whatever your responsibilities may be, so that you are able to do what you have to do, fulfill your responsibilities, you receive the support and love that you need in order to still maintain and let your flame continue to burn, because you don't want to burn yourself out, possibly making somebody else's dreams come true. Imagine that. But isn't that the most fucked up thing? Isn't that the most fucked up thing, that your flame goes out because you were helping somebody else's dreams come true and you were forgetting about your own? Is that fair to you? We weren't created to be slaves, as much as certain people like to think that, you know? No, you are allowed to dream. You are meant, you came here, you came into this world, you incarnated in this life because you had a purpose, you had a mission. But you can't allow yourself to be distracted or burdened by other people's missions, you know, and you become like a pawn in their game where they want to be the winner, and you end up losing. You know, you lose your purpose, you lose sight of your purpose, you lose sight of your path. You know, don't allow somebody else's dreams to extinguish your own. You know, you get to choose. Are you going to be burdened by other people's things, other people's responsibilities, burdens, stress, tasks, or are you going to pursue your own happiness? You know, you have a choice to make. And me, I will always tell you to choose yourself, you know, because remember, like I was telling you about my fear, you cannot be replaced and you can never abandon yourself. And one of the things that you should never abandon is your dreams. You should never abandon your dreams. You were created for a reason, you know? And I think that this full moon in Scorpio is like a reminder for you. Let my message be a reminder for you. You know? Let me see what time it is now. I think that's pretty good. Yeah. So I don't think there's any more I could add to this reading. I hope this reading resonates with you somehow, in some way, in the best way possible. Feel free to watch the beginning where I talk about the full moon. I share my fears, just to give you an idea of something that you may find within yourself, because we all have different fears because of different experiences, different upbringings and stuff. My fears are tied to how I grew up. And I know there are a lot of people who grew up in the same way too. So I hope the message is helpful in some way, gives you something to think about, something to reflect on in your own personal life, and that there was some nugget of information, advice, or wisdom that is going to help make your life a little bit easier, even if it's in one small way. So I appreciate you all for liking, possibly subscribing, for you watching, engaging with me in the chat, and I hope to see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye.